BA.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit rusty.
I understand it's a lot rusty.
Yeah, a lot rusty. But overall, it was pretty unique in itself. And I think they said, I think even Galen mentioned that it was, I think it was bound to go over $3 million for it and everything else. But private guy who called in and auctioned it. It wasn't even anybody actually present. Or something like that.
Yeah, they called in a bid.
Yeah, called in a bid, and with that much money, I don't think people.
He probably could have just sent somebody to go bid for him if he wanted to.
That's what I thought with that kind of money and stuff. But yeah. Anyway.
That's somebody that wanted that car.
Yeah, and you wonder, what do you do with it? Do you put it as like a little art display in the house, garage, or do you refurbish it?
No, you don't refurbish it.
No, don't touch it.
Don't mess with it.
Don't touch it.
Yeah.
And then, you just keep it somewhere, climate controlled.
Yeah.
Keep it nice. Keep it.
Jay Leno that bought it, you think?
Yeah, maybe. The next comedian car's getting coffee. It's going to be the Bullet. Steve McQueen. Yeah. Do you watch that show? Do you ever partake in that? Like, because Jay Leno's been on that a few times, and then he's got his car show thing where he does like his Jay Leno's garage or whatever.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. No.
I don't. The last thing I want to look at is cars.
Yep. If you're just joining us, WOCA Ocala 96.3 had some technical difficulties with some power issues and power struggle there for a minute, but we got it back. Looks like here, and just I got Matt Gibbs in the studio with us talking.
So on the
there he is
on the receiving at the phone at the Mecum auction.
Yeah,
the guy, the mysterious guy,
right,
was talking to the guy Frank Mecum.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that? I don't know if that makes a big deal. They made a big deal of it in the news. So Frank Mecum knows who he was talking to, but nobody else apparently does.
Interesting.
That's a good.
There's somebody else knows.
Yeah.
Because somebody has to do the title work on that.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that they started off with $3,500? Every hand in the room went up.
It went from $3,500
to
over $3 million.
Right, because the family.
$35,000.
No, $3,500.
Yeah.
I would put my hand up for that one too.
Right,
yeah.
Everybody, because the reason he did it, I can't remember the guy's last name, the family that had it.
Right, because that's what we read yesterday. Was
But his father or whatever bought it for $3,500, so he said, "I just want to get at least what we paid for it."
Okay.
And he's like, "Let's start the bid," and everyone, yeah.
I would have bid on that there.
And less than 45 seconds later, as it just jumped and started.
Yeah, that was an exciting story. And in fact, it was 2 days in a row we had this. Not this story, but as a related story today about the mysterious buyer and that Frank Mecum was the guy on the phone on this end, not the buying end.
Right.
But you might have hit it, Adam. It might have been one of those comedians in car.
Maybe.
That could easily be the next thing.
I could see that. I mean,
I don't know.
Jerry Seinfeld in a leather jacket with a cigarette.
But is a Netflix show worth $3 million of investment?
Yes.
You think?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Well, just stop and think about it. That car, it sold for $3.5 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, is there someone else out there willing to pay $3.5 million for that car?
Must be, because there was a guy in the room.
Yeah. And if you do something like that, like comedians and cars getting coffee, now it has even more history to it, and then that adds the value to it again.
Right.
And now it just, it's going to be 2057. We're going to be talking about the same story for it going 13.6 million.
It makes me want to buy my old Nova. Maybe I can get some money for it.
Yeah,
Yes.
you stop and think about it. I talk to guys all the time. I talk to guys all the time that said, "Oh my God, if only I would have thought just for a minute, what I had." And it's insane, man.
Now, what did you have?
I had a headache.
Yeah.
No, I did have a Nova, an older Nova, a Chevy 2.
Yeah.
So that was about it for me.
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted.
Yeah.
like that 85 SS Monte Carlo, because that's kind of like my generation.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I did buy one, and I restored it and had it painted. And I remember me and my son Joey, we were going to a motocross race. This was after he got hurt, and we're gonna take out the SS Monte Carlo. We got to the racetrack. He said, "Dad, don't ever let me drive in this old car ever again."
Why?
He just thought it was just so old and ugly.
Oh,
And was it black with the red interior?
Yeah, black with the red interior, with all
Yep.
the SS stripes. All of it was brand new.
Yep, and I'll tell you something, like, when I was a kid, this is 94, 95, I was living in Akron, Ohio, and at the end of our road was he was a sheriff. He was a sheriff, and he had one. And it was parked out there, and he kept that thing cherry. And I grew to like that just
really?
because, and he was a cool guy. He played baseball with the kids in the neighborhood and stuff, and he was an upstanding guy. And he was cool as ice water when he got into that car and drove that sucker down the street. And I was like, I want to be like him. So I kind of grew to like that car a little bit.
I
Yeah.
like that car.
Yeah, but your son did, and that's
He
yeah.
thought it was just an old person. He didn't see there was no coolness in this car at all.
Well, what's interesting about that is if you look at that car and then look at an Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme at the same year, right? So both GM, well, yeah, the Oldsmobile looked a little old personish and but the Monte Carlo took those refinements and put it into somewhat of a muscle car there. Yeah. Yeah.
You know which old car I like? In the Christmas parade, they always have the old sheriff's car. There's a bunch of old sheriff's cars, but there's one in particular that I like. It's huge. It's like a boat. I don't know what kind of car it is. Maybe you guys know.
Maybe
but
it's like a Grand Fury or something like that. For the Christmas parade, I got to do the old ambulance,
Oh, yeah.
the old blue ambulance.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we worked on that and got that ready for the.
Oh, wow.
Was it like that, Larry?
I think that's it.
Something like that?
I think that might be. I'm not sure.
That's a,
I know that.
what is that? Is that a Mercury?
I know Sheriff Dean, former Sheriff Dean.
Yeah, I don't really know.
I saw this. This was in Ocala. This picture here. I'm holding up a picture of what looks like an old police car, and on the back of the window it says "In memory of Andy and Barney." And then the sticker said
me see,
something
let
of
me see.
Mayberry.
You know what? I don't. Gosh, I'm not sure if that's the car I'm talking about or not.
It's pretty cool, and man, these guys were. This is a young kid in here, and he was pumping that throttle every light because it was on 200, so we hit every single red light, and it was just cool. So I had to take a picture of it. Don't recommend that when you're driving, but cherry on top and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of neat.
Very cool. Hey, we have an abbreviated show today because of our malfunction there. So go to see Matt, get your car fixed. We're not done yet. We still got a good 6 minutes, but
A good 6 minutes.
well, as opposed to the first 6, which were bad.
Yeah, they were pretty awful. The whole mall went black.
The whole thing was gone.
I don't think I've ever seen the whole mall go black.
So you know Adam is a pilot. Do you know that?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so does the engine on an airplane have the same? Like, could you work on that as well? You have the
I
same.
could work on it because a lot of
Absolutely.
the airboats use aircraft.
Yep.
type
Oh, same
engines.
kind of engine.
I don't know if I'm not. I'd say qualified. Yes. Licensed. No.
Right, the certification to allow that plane to be airworthy is the difference. But yeah, it's actually so most of the aircraft engines are 4-cylinder, horizontally opposed. So that's what he said. Like a lot of airboats use those.
Sometimes I'm
engines.
diametrically opposed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
And when a lot of those engines get timed out, which you would need like another 20 grand to do like the overhaul and everything, a lot of guys just say, well, if I could spend another 10 and get a brand new engine and put that on the airframe and be nicer, well, I could probably recoup that if I just sell this engine also. So like they'll sell it to guys who want to put it on an airboat or something like that.
Oh, really?
But yeah, it's pretty neat.
Because on an airboat, there's no danger of crashing.
Well, I mean, you could
Well,
crash.
you're not airborne to
Right,
come
yeah.
back down to earth to
Right.
crash.
You're not going to crash on me.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
going to crash next to me.
Crash into a palm tree or a cypress knee or something.
Right. But no, yeah, that's I recommend, like, anybody who has done like any regular automotive work on engines and stuff and is like looking for a change, they could always use mechanics. So it's a process to get certified, but I'm sure like If you do it, the juice would be worth the squeeze as far as the investment for the
So
money.
are
to do
those
that.
engines as dependent on computers as car engines are?
Not in the smaller aircraft we have. So no, we're still kind of old-fashioned.
Like it's mechanical.
Yeah, like, the magnetos are engine-driven, the fuel pump's engine-driven, all that good stuff. Not until you get into, obviously, like the big turbine jets and everything like that do you have more computer expectations and monitoring and all that kind of stuff.
It's kind of like, we do a lot of stuff on these medium duty trucks, like haulers, horse. This is a horse capital of the world, so we got a lot of folks out here, private people that have medium duty trucks, which is like right under a semi, and those trucks. If I'd have known 20 years ago what I know now today, I'd have just worked on these trucks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because for the last 30 years, they've stayed the same.
Oh,
They're very
okay.
mechanical. There's not as much. Now they're starting to do like ABS braking systems and stuff like that. But other than that, most of the stuff is just nuts and bolts and still mechanics.
Yeah.
It's just a lot bigger nuts and bolts.
Yeah, I still have to come see you. I'm waiting until I'm retired, then I'm going to come see you. I can sit in your little lobby.
Yeah.
And I'll drink some of your coffee.
Yeah. I'll even make you a cup
I'll
of
just
coffee.
wait.
Let you turn. I'll give you the remote. You can be in control of the TV.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't let many people be in charge of the TV, but I'll let you do that. Just being that you're just newly retired.
That's funny. That's funny. We were there the other day for Robin's car. She got 4 tires. I can't remember what else she had done, but I know that Tom put some steering fluid in my car. Remember you checked it?
Yeah.
And so he put it
And
in.
I knew once we put some fluid in there, the noise went away. We wouldn't see you again
That's right.
until it makes noise again, until it all leaks out.
Well, no. Yes and no. Yes and no. The yes is because you won't see me till you see me.
Right.
But the no is because I made a mental note to say when I come back for the oil, what am I going to? I'm coming for oil, tire rotation, and then I'm going to say to you, can you see if there was actually a leak?
No, there was a leak.
There is a leak.
Yeah, when
Oh,
I
okay.
checked your fluid, remember I checked it last week?
Oh, you determined there
I
was a
could
leak?
see
Where it splits?
where it's splattering.
Oh, really?
Where it's going all over the place, Larry.
Okay.
It's going all over the place, Larry.
So I might not sit in your room. I might leave it overnight then. Is
Well,
that,
I mean, it's just we'll take a look at it and see.
yeah, okay. Because I like to be able to steer.
It is a very that's right. That's a very important part of the whole
What would
process.
happen if it went away? Would I just be going straight?
Well, right now you have power steering,
Right.
And then it becomes powerful steering.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the old cars.
That's like the old cars.
But they had bigger steering wheels, so you had more leverage.
There you go.
More torque or whatever they
That's
call it.
right. That's right.
That happened to me. I had an Explorer about 5 months ago, and it overheated. It cracked the heater valve or something like it, and she overheated, and I had to get to work. This happened as soon as I reached to get my breakfast sandwich from that local shop. She's like, "Oh, do you need to like?" I said, "No, I'm going to figure this out." So I just had to get to work, so I cranked it up, and I knew I could get there. Probably not the best thing for it. That's why I don't have the vehicle now. But I got down the road from the job, and she shut off again.
Oh, boy.
And I was going straight, but then I had to turn, and then I realized, oh yeah, there's no power steering, so it becomes powerful steering, as I said. So I gripped and ripped that thing in there. And then you know what I forgot too? The brakes are also a little in tune with that as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the brakes didn't really work as well either. But luckily I was coasting, and it's Florida, so it's level. But yeah, just...
So sorry about the beginning of the show. We had a power outage. So Matt Gibbs is here from Sunrise Automotive. I go to Matt because I trust him in every way you can trust a person, on the price, on the diagnosis, on everything. And I don't even worry about it. I leave the car there, come back and get it when it's all done, and that's all I need to know, because all I need to do is drive.
That's all you need to do.
This is why I don't fly an airplane, because I would be horrible with the maintenance. I'd be up there and I'd hear a noise.
Yeah, well, in that case, Larry, you have no choice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, again, I apologize for the glitch at the beginning. But thank you, Matt. Good to see you. I'll see you after I retire.
All right.
Next Tuesday, it's you and Adam.
Yep.
All right.
You got it, buddy.
Ready, Adam?
Yep.
All right, let's do
buddy.
it.
We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Here is your 1-minute news brief. A house fire in Citra has left one person dead and a firefighter injured. A district captain came in contact with a live power line. He is expected to be okay. Lawrence Arnold Mayhew has died. Mayhew is credited with founding one of Ocala's favorite burger drive-thrus, Hungry Bear Drive-In, and the Mayhew Pest Control Company. Mayhew was 86 years old. The 24-year-old man who shot several people, killing one at a zombie-themed festival in Fort Myers more than 4 years ago, was sentenced yesterday to 30 years in prison. Florida would require background checks before weapons could be sold at gun shows under a bill unanimously approved by a Senate committee yesterday. Calling preparations for the 2020 census conspicuously deficient, the NAACP is suing the U.S. Census Bureau, demanding more workers in the field. And Awesome Planet, the new film debuting on Friday at the Land Pavilion in Epcot, will be narrated by actor Ty Burrell, Disney revealed yesterday. And that is your news brief from The Source.
The whole town's talking about the Camellia Show at Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens. Hundreds have visited so far, and they say it's the best camellia show ever. Time for you to visit this 5-acre garden with hundreds of camellias, 50-year-old camellia trees, rare and exotic specimens, too. The show is free, but you can join the camellia lovers with your very own Bob Wine's heirloom camellia for as low as $19.99. Bob Wine's is celebrating Florida Arbor Day with a terrific tree sale. All shade trees, ornamental trees, citrus trees are buy one, get one at half price. Shrubs, indoor plants, herbs, hanging baskets, azaleas, roses, gardenias, and perennials are 50% off just for Arbor Day. The Camellia Show Spectacular and a huge Arbor Day tree sale right now at Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens, Southeast 38th Street, Ocala, in the same blooming place since 1952.
Hi, Matt Wilkerson here, your Verizon representative with news that will hum your car, make it smart and safe. How? With the new Hum device by Verizon. You can rest assured you're never alone. Flat tire? Lost? Accident? For $10 a month, Hum by Verizon has you covered. And I will come to you in Marion County to install the Hum for free. Time to call me at 352-528-0020. Are you ready to hum along? Call 352-528-0020.
AccuSleep offers a safe and effective medical option for those who suffer from sleep disorders of all kinds. AccuSleep makes restoring healthy sleep patterns possible. No medication, no surgery, just good sound sleep. Mend your sleep so you can stop counting sheep. Experience restorative sleep at AccuSleep, the acupuncture sleep clinic in Ocala by calling 352-615-5566.
When you see the Mike Scott Plumbing truck, you know that experienced certified technicians are on the job. Mike Scott Plumbing has the equipment and expertise to handle any size septic job, residential and commercial. From pumping septic tanks to installing new tanks and drain fields. When you want the job done right the first time, then the first call you need to make is to Mike Scott Plumbing. Mike Scott Plumbing is locally owned and operated since 1987, so you get the quality you expect at the price you deserve. If water runs through it, we do it. Mike Scott Plumbing.
Ocala Magazine is the city magazine distributed throughout Ocala, Marion County, and the Villages, providing award-winning coverage of important issues for almost 40 years. Hi, I'm Philip Glassman, publisher of Ocala Magazine. Ocala Magazine offers a platform for branding opportunities for your business or events while covering the latest in local lifestyle throughout print, digital, and social media.
Listen every Friday at 10:30 a.m. on WOCA, The Source.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
cool things about doing this show is you get to speak to authors whose book just came out. Our next author has a book that came out today, Robin.
I know, so exciting.
James Almay is on the phone. His book is called The Body Outside the Kremlin. It's a thriller novel. James is the author and contributor to the Florida Book Review. Oh, really? So he's familiar with the other side of it as well, right? Gulfstream Literary Magazine, Tiger Tail, and the New Orleans Review, or New Orleans Review, I guess is how you say it.
Or Nolans. You've got a few.
New Orleans, so I don't know anything about the book, so let me just read what it says on Amazon. It says, Solovetsky occupies the island side of a former monastery in the White Sea. Here, hundreds of miles from civilization, and with a skeleton crew of secret policemen in charge, some prisoners are consigned to all kinds of forced labor, and others sit at comfortable desks in administrative or cultural positions. With the brutal winter fast approaching, Tolya Bogmatov, is that right? A young mathematician serving a 3-year sentence hopes an acquaintance he's been cultivating will lead to a less brutal work assignment. Okay, that's enough to get me interested. Let's find out. James May, it's an honor to have you on the show. Thank you for waiting patiently through that break there.
Oh, that's quite all right. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, the book sounds interesting and exciting. Is it based on anything that happened in the real world?
Well, it certainly is, yeah. Solovetsky is a real place. It is an island in the White Sea, so that's in the far northwest of Russia, almost on the Arctic Circle, so a cold place. You wouldn't want to be there right now. And it's a place, my book is set in the 1920s, when there was a communist prison camp set there. In fact, it was the first camp in what would go on to be called the Gulag, which is a big, as you may know, a giant network of Soviet prison camps,
right.
quite deadly, and really one of the major sort of crimes of the 20th century. It has a lot of competition, of course. Solovetsky, however, is interesting not just for that, but because for about 500 years before the Bolsheviks, the Communist Party, turned it into a prison camp, it was a monastery, a Russian Orthodox monastery. So one of the things I find just terribly interesting about the place is this kind of the overlap of the place where all these monks had their sort of spiritual, pious lives, combined with, prisoners sort of suffering and starving and really being treated terribly. It's a funny kind of contrast to me.
But throughout the story, Tolya, he really is not nice to the other prisoners to try to find out who the murderer is.
Well, that's right. He's, one of the sort of characteristic things about the camps is that you just have to do almost anything you possibly can to survive. The conditions were that harsh. And so, yeah, Tolya, I think my protagonist, Tolya, he's a young man, a math student from St. Petersburg who's been imprisoned there because he possessed a banned book. Just something like that was enough to get you sent off for 3, 5, or 10 years to one of these really deadly places. And so he starts off a little bit more naive, a little bit more, well-intentioned. But by the end of the story, in order to save his own life and to improve his position and to solve a murder that he's presented with, he's ended up having to do some things to his fellow prisoners that, they're not the worst things that happen in the book, but he feels some survivor's guilt over them, certainly.
Would crime solving in those days and in that location have been any different than now and here?
Oh, well, that's a great question. It certainly would have been. For one thing, crime solving, in fact, the very concept of crime under the Bolsheviks was sort of a political category, meaning that's a vague way of saying,
right.
If you were a detective, you kind of had to produce the result that your political sponsors wanted. That said, one could argue that occasionally that's the case today as well. That said, the procedures they used, one of the interesting things in Russia around the turn of the century is, fingerprinting was just becoming well known. So they actually there were some things certainly in common with our present manners of crime solving.
So Tolya is imprisoned because of something political.
Well, effectively, it's a funny thing. In the immediately post-revolution Soviet Union, and indeed in the Soviet Union for much of its history, a lot of things could be considered political that we wouldn't really consider political now. So, famously, Stalin, or under Stalin, there was a purge of stamp collecting groups. And that's, it's nonsensical, right? There isn't an element of political resistance to stamp collecting.
Right.
But I think a big part of the Gulag program was to sort of make it impossible for people to get together and sort of form groups for any reason. So for Tolya, all he's done is, actually it's a philosophy book that he has, not a political book, but it's one that's not approved of officially, and so that makes him, a political criminal in the eyes of the regime.
You opened my eyes about the prison camps itself, because I always thought it was forced labor, but you said that that some of the prisoners were in administrative positions, even cultural.
Well, that's right. Yeah, I should say, the vast majority of prisoners on Solovetsky, as in the rest of the Gulag, were performing very hard forced labor. But there were exceptions, particularly on this in this particular camp, which was an early camp. It wasn't quite so. It was very harsh, but they sort of hadn't refined their techniques quite as cruelly as they would in some later camps. Anyway, so there were actually positions that prisoners held, which were administrative, or in some cases, rather strangely, sort of cultural. They actually had a theater and a museum and a magazine for the prisoners, all run by prison labor. But the main reason to have prisoners in these administrative positions is that, in fact, there were very few guards and policemen who were actually employed there. The camp was about, in 1926, when my book is set, it was on the order of 10,000 prisoners were kept there, and there were only about 4270, I should say, guards who were actually employed there. Everybody else involved in the operation of running the camp was a prisoner. So that's one of the strange things about reading camp histories, is how much the prisoners were involved in administering them.
That is interesting. Wow, and yet they still were prisoners. I guess it was set up so they couldn't get out. I have a question for you about writing. Whenever any of us read a book, we always review it in a way, like you tell your friend, "Oh, I read this book," and you liked it or it didn't. But as a professional reviewer yourself, you have to articulate your critique of it. Did that in any way influence how you ended up crafting this particular story?
Well, yes and no. It's a funny interplay. It's a great question. I think, generally speaking, the advice that everybody gives, and that I would give too for a person trying to write, is you do have to sort of turn off your critic while you're doing it. If you sort of think at every sentence you write, what is a critic going to say about this? How is this going to be reviewed? You'll just never. It's impossible. It's excruciating. You can't do it. That said, I do think one of the interesting things and one of the fun things about writing is that you're sort of the first reader of your own work. So you are always sort of thinking about, okay, how will a reader take this? How will a critic take this? What does this mean? How does it work? And so to that degree, certainly reviewing helps you kind of hone your sensibility about it. I'll add, if this is not. I don't know if this means I would give my own book a good review, but one of the things that sort of animated me in writing this book is when I first read about Solovetsky, I just thought, God, I would love to read a novel set in this place, a mystery novel particularly. And so, that novel didn't exist, so I did kind of have to answer my own inner reader by writing it.
Interesting.
And you set up Anato's character really, really well, because he had a lot of compassion for the monks' collections, and that was unheard of in Russia. They wanted it all destroyed.
Oh, good. I'm glad you think so.
I found the book on Amazon, just coming out brand new today, and getting reviews that are really good already. I think, did we get a book? We got a copy of the book, so if we have a listener who would like the copy that was sent to us, you can call, and I'll just pick a listener at random. Good luck with the book, James. Really an amazing first novel for somebody, as a first. That's why I was asking about the review work you've done. I'm thinking maybe part of your craftsmanship came from looking at other people's books so closely. James May, thank you for being on the show with us today. Do you have a website you'd like to tell us about?
Oh, certainly. You can go to jameslmay.com, and that has a little bit more about me and a little bit more about Solovetsky and a little bit more about the book.
Okay, very good. Thank you, James.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We'll be right back.
Howdy, folks. RL here to tell you about Dairy Queen. Dairy Queen Silver Springs has been serving yummy foods and ice cream made fresh to order for 46 years. Their gift cards are perfect for those you love